One More Time is a pretty decent Warner Brothers cartoon. This was released in 1931. It's directed by Rudolf Ising with voices provided by Marcellite Garner, the Kingsmen, and Johnny Murray. And Murray voices Foxy and Marcellite Garner voices Roxy. And I will say something that I've mentioned before, I think, whenever I've talked about Foxy, it's so difficult to watch this and not picture Mickey Mouse. There are some differences in the appearance of the character, bearing in mind Foxy is a fox, but for me the biggest difference is the ears. And in scenes where his ears are not quite as pronounced, he's wearing a hat in a lot of this, so they're not as obvious. It really looks like Mickey Mouse. Foxy is a police officer, and he's going about swinging his baton, having a jolly time, keeping everything safe, but then some gangsters drive along and make things difficult, and they also threaten the safety of Roxy, and things get intense. Maybe that's a slight exaggeration. It's not exactly intense, but it's very fast paced after the narrative really picks up, and the animation quality is brilliant. I don't know how I feel about the scenes where Foxy is walking towards the camera, as it were. I know exactly what they're trying to achieve, and I think it's certainly interesting, but I don't know if it's my favourite way to animate this. I think he's maybe a little bit too close for comfort, if that makes sense. But at the same time, I found it to be very interesting, and it certainly made me pay attention, which can only be a good thing. We have some really nice backdrops, and it's not too detailed. There's not a great amount of detail in the backdrops, but they work really well for the street scenes. The cars look brilliant, the other characters look great, and of course the actual movements of the characters, I think, are pretty smooth, especially for 1931. It's not a bad cartoon. I will always think of Foxy as Mickey Mouse. I think the similarities are just too strong, and it's blatant. It absolutely is. Not that I mind it. I don't mind it. I just think it's rather entertaining, and that there are times when I struggle to really remember that it's not Mickey Mouse. And I guess the biggest problem there is that not only is it not the same character, but it's not the same studio. But it does feel like it could have been a Mickey Mouse cartoon. But that aside, Foxy is a really great character. This is a pretty decent narrative. It's a little slow to start off with, but the animation style is really nice. For the most part, as I said, there are a few things here and there that I don't personally love too much, but I can't fault it necessarily. And the narrative, once it gets going, gets a little bit more interesting, and ultimately, I can't complain. It's not a bad cartoon. Foxy is not a bad character. One More Time is probably one that's worth checking out.